We are not opposed to it.
Okay, good morning. I call to order the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District Board of Directors meeting for Tuesday, October 4th. It is now 9 a.m. We will start with a salute to the flag. It's behind me. Mr. Herman, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Correct. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Juan Martin, Chair.
Here.
Alexis Hill, Vice Chair.
Here.
Bob Lucy is absent. Kenny Jive is absent. Jean Herman.
Here.
Fire Chief Charles Moore.
Here.
Here.
Chief, item number 3, public comment. Will you take us into that, please?
Yes, sir. Item 3, public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Board of Fire Commissioners. District will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners as a whole.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We have no one in person and we have no hands.
Okay. I will close public comment, bring it back to the board. Chief, will you take us into item number 4, please?
Item 4 is Commissioners, Fire Chiefs announcements, requests for information, topics for future agendas, and statements relating to items not on the agenda. No discussion among commissioners will take place on this item.
Thank you, Chief. Do you have any such items?
Yes, sir. I just want to remind the commissioners and the public of our open house this Saturday, October 8th. And Mr. Mayberry, it's 10 to 1. And we'd like to show off our new facility, celebrate our 50 years.
This will be a good time, but I'll also mention it again. I want to commend you on the green waste program. Well done.
Staff will turn.
Commissioner Herman, anything? Okay, Commissioner Hill, do you have anything under comments? Commissioner comments?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We will close item number 4, and that takes us now, Chief, to item number 5, our consent agenda.
Item 5 consent items are items A through E. If there's any questions on any of these, staff.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions on the consent agenda?
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Hill?
No, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
Hold on just a second. Commissioner Hill, any questions? Okay. All right. So we have a motion by Hill, second by Herman. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on consent? We'll close public comment. Bring it back to the board. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 6, Chief.
Item 6 is the International Association of Firefighters Local 2487 report. I don't see anybody.
Okay. All right. We will close item number 6. That takes us into item number 7. Fire Chief's report. Chief.
I want to mention that we're still getting a few wildland fires here and there despite our wet fall weather. Yesterday we had a small fire along the railroad tracks. Good news is we don't expect anything catastrophic.
Still on the railroad tracks to find where that was out of town, correct?
It was along near Derby Dam,
Right.
the system I started down. And we've had just some very small brush fires, but I will say our experiences wildland season has been very moderate. A little more rain. Item A1 is the 2022 report to the community. We've given you a final draft. From what was in your notebooks, we've given you a new revised one that just has de minimis changes to the counts, the run counts. But if this looks good to you, then we will go ahead and publish it with that and a few hard copies.
Commissioners, any questions for the chief on that report? Commissioner
No
Hill?
question.
Okay, no, it looks good, chief.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take item 2 and 3 together since they're kind of meshed together.
I don't actually have a two. I have an A1 and an A3, 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 and A7. Is what I have on my agenda.
It should be an A1, 2, and 3.
My agenda does not indicate that, but okay, go ahead.
So we'd like to discuss capital projects update and also debt financing, and Ms. Vance is here to talk about that. We're ready to go on Station 37 with respect to the apparatus bay, except for the fact that we need to figure out financing. Estimate the cost of the apparatus bay to be between 2 million and 2.5 million. Which isn't a lot to debt finance, but as we get into debt financing, we'll have a larger discussion about interest rates, cost of debt financing, and the length of time to do that, because we don't want to just do a bond per project. We'd like to lump them all together. So if we want to proceed on Station 37 instead of a bond, we may want to look for some shorter term debt. It's possible that we might be able to get a capital lease for a building on a term of about 10 years. $2 million isn't a ton of money to
Chief, just talk to me briefly about the apparatus bay. I mean, that's just a big garage. Why $2 million?
well, it's not just the garage, but it's also all the ancillary rooms. It's the office, it's equipment rooms, it's a room for an air compressor. It's all the support rooms that go into the fire station, so not just the parking garage. It's also the parking and the site improvements, utilities work, and curbing gutter that we need to do. So all of that goes into the cost of that.
Okay.
The work is proceeding on the residence, so once the residence is complete, we can move the crews into that building and remove the modular. We haven't decided where the modular is. Station 46, the additional bedrooms for the medic crew are almost complete. They should be ready by mid to late October. And that will be, remodel will be complete for Station 46. I want to mention the Consolidated Station. That one's going to be a little more difficult to move forward with. See the fee proposal from the architect, which I believe is not acceptable, and I can't recommend it to the board because of the amount of fee. When we first interviewed architects, not only for the Washoe Valley Consolidated Station, but also the Apple Station, we presented to the architects that we want a prototype station design that we can build in both locations. So with respect to floor plan and apparatus design and everything about the station will be exactly the same, except for the site adaptability issues from one site to another. And so we asked each architect, what efficiency would there be in your fee, given that that's the job at hand here. We're expecting a fee of around 6%, but it came in at about 12 to 15%, which is what I'm told by Mr. Solero and Mr. Smith, that architects are very busy, and so they're commanding higher fees. So nevertheless, we will go into negotiations with the architect that we selected to see if we can get that down. So when we did some preliminary cost estimates on the Consolidated Station, we asked our Seymour contractor, what would it cost to duplicate the station at Foothill? Now, the station at Washoe Valley is not going to be a duplicate of Foothill Station, but it gave us an idea of how much we would have to spend, a little bit less than that fee to get a station. Foothill was around $9.5 million if we were to build that again today. So I'm thinking that the Consolidated Station will be somewhere in the range of 7 to a 7.5, I'm hoping. But nevertheless, I'm going to turn it over to Cindy to talk about our debt financing and how we're going to move forward. One is the fee with the architect. The other is how we approach the debt financing, because I do have some concerns, of course, about the national economy and what happens with our real estate values, our C-tax revenues. And, if global political events turn really, really bad, that's certainly not going to be good. So with that, I'll let.
This sounds welcome, and let me make a correction. So I was looking under the attachments, Chief. I was looking at 7A, 7A1. I do want to correct it, but the agenda is correct. 7A2. Ms. Vance, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Chief Fiscal Officer. As Chief mentioned, we have about 4 projects really that require financing. Washoe Valley Station, the Bayette Station 37, any additional rooms that we want to add to the Apple station that's not going to be reimbursed by Apple, or covered by Apple, and any upgrades to Barron Way here, especially particularly with security. Those are some of the items we're considering. So our major revenues to pay for our bond financing are, of course, our property taxes and consolidated taxes. 56% of our budget is property taxes. Consolidated taxes are about 33%, and that includes other sales use taxes. We did see a big spike in our consolidated taxes during COVID, but we are kind of seeing them taper now down. The June of 2022, our last payment from the last fiscal year actually was less than the prior year, which was kind of the first time for that. And our first payment in July is about $957,000, which is about $23,000 more than last year, but it's only 2.9% increase. It is under budget by the monthly budget where we're expecting to be closer to $980,000. So we are watching those, and there is a handout in there that kind of includes the last 5 fiscal years of consolidated taxes by month, and then the graph that will show that actually it did drop down last fiscal year. Our current debt that we have 3 debt bonds outstanding. We have a medium-term bond, and that was for equipment, and that was about $4.4 million. The current outstanding balance is $3.6 million, and that has a 1.5% interest rate. So when we started issuing debt, great interest rates. General obligation improvement debt, we did $2.1 million, and that was to purchase the property in Washoe Valley and to do some improvements to facilities. And that was hoping actually to cover most of Station 37, the facility, the house, which it is. We still have about 1.8 outstanding on that. The interest rate on that is 1.53%. And then our last bond that we issued was the capital improvement bond for this facility, to purchase this facility and do anything additional. And that was for $7 million. Our interest rates ran between 2 and 4. So the common interest rate was close to 3. And that is a 25-year with 2 25 years and a 15-year. So currently we're paying just over $1 million in debt fees annually. We do have remaining bond proceeds that will cover the Station 37 house and some planning items that we already have in works for Washoe Valley, Barron Way, and Station 46, and also the remodel of Station 46. Okay. So we've been working with J&A Consulting, they are our bond consultants, on watching the finance rates and getting different options for what we're going to look at for budgeting. Originally, we thought about $10 million, but as we've gone, the prices of construction have increased. So we've had them pull numbers for $10 million, $12 million, and 14 million. And currently the interest rates are about 4.5%, so quite a bit higher than what we were before. So a $10 million financing would give us a bond payment of about $705,000. And then 12 at about 850 and 14 million at 985,000. So,
So where do those bonds come from? Are those just general obligation bonds?
Yes.
Or were they through the state revolving fund?
no, these are general obligation bonds. The state revolving fund is mostly water and sewer projects.
Okay.
So we did not qualify for any of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are no other bond opportunities through the state?
We continue to look. We have not found anything that will meet yet, and that is one of our other options. So as we go into this process and we're trying to get refined amounts for the cost of construction before we issue any bonds, is that we continue to try to see if there's any grants and federal fundings, federal loan programs that may offset some of these costs, even partially.
Is the revolving fund statutory, or is it just through the state where they get to make their own rules and decide, you know?
It is a federal program, so I'm not sure exactly the pass-through requirements on that, but I know that it is part of, it would be considered part of a CFA program and that would be recorded.
Okay, I didn't know, so I
Yeah.
was just curious about that. Okay, thank you.
No, that's all right. So in your package, you will see a few different financing things. You have copies of our debt finance that's current outstanding and where they are, and copies of the projections provided by JNA that are included in there. So that's the amounts that run from 705 to 985,000. So we had originally planned to try to go to the Debt Management Commission next month, but that's postponed to look at February so that we can refine this and see if the timing's right. And we might decide to try to delay it because we have high interest rates and high construction costs. So the timing is not the best, but it may be what we need to do to determine that. Because what we don't want to do is have our debt interrupt our ability to provide our services and give pressure on our service levels where we need to cut down our service levels to make our debt payments.
Sure. One second. Madam Clerk, would you please let the record reflect that Commissioner Hill is in person now? Vice Chair Hill. Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Nance.
We have contracted with EK Economics. They did an economic study for us in December of 2019 that we went ahead to look at growth. And since then we had COVID, which kind of changed things. So we're having her update that study, and that will be including property tax projections and C-tax projections over the next 5 years, and including annexations and future developments to try to give us a better picture of where our district is going economically so that we can make sure that we make the best decision on financing so that we can afford it and that we're not sacrificing any surface levels. We do also have to take in consideration, there's some other projects that are future, which will include, we need a ladder truck that may be a couple years out, but that will be a debt payment. And then our rolling stock apparatus, that should be due in the next couple of years that we wanted to bring in every 5 years instead of doing individual purchases for those. The debt payment on the previous one doesn't expire though to 2030. So there will be about 5 years of overlapping.
Some questions?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you had asked about state grants, but specifically the infrastructure bonds, as we discussed, I don't know, a few months ago, did we look into those, the state infrastructure bonds? think that those could be an opportunity.
Those were all obligated to, from what we worked with our bond counsel on those and discussed them. And at the time, and we'll continue to watch if more comes out, but they were obligated to like charter schools and education facilities mostly.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I guess we have a lot of unknowns right now, the unknowns of our revenue picture. We still really don't know the cost of construction of the Consolidated Station, so we want to be a little more methodical and a little more patient as we proceed. Again, we might be able to get 37 going, Hidden Valley, on the apparatus bay ahead of Consolidated Station. Exploring some financing options for that. We want the board to know that we're still working and still moving down the path. It's not proceeding at the pace that previously had state and established.
So Chief, let's back up to the Apple station quickly. Because I had a conversation with the county manager, Story, and he seemed to indicate that they had interest in, I don't know how this would work out, or even if there's an appetite on the part of this board or TM. But he seemed to indicate that they would be interested in some type of a consolidated station, the potential for that. Where they, because I know that the station that they have right now at the Tri-Center is very limited. As you have seen before, it's small. I mean, it's a nice station, it's good, but it's small and it's, and it of course is away from, because it's sort of tucked back into the center at their government center. Is there any appetite to have that conversation and potentially, see what their interest is? Because I know we've talked about potentially building an extra bay. That may not be enough for them, but I don't, and from legal's perspective, I don't know how that would work where you have a consolidated station where you've got two counties participating in that.
Mr. Chair, I believe we could do that. It obviously would take some coordination with the other county. I would imagine some paperwork, but I think if both counties wanted to do that, we could figure out a way to get it done.
Okay. All right, so Chief, these aren't marching orders, but it's just a suggestion to reach out to County Manager Austin Osborne. And I don't know if you have his information. If you don't, I'm happy to share it, or Mr. Manager can share it. Just have that conversation, see what the appetite is, see what their thoughts are. Because I really don't know. I mean, it was just a very casual conversation, and I mentioned that we were moving forward with that station with Apple. It is, of course, contingent upon us being able to staff, because what's happening down in Washoe Valley with the Consolidated Station down there, so that, sort of moving pieces around on the chessboard. So let's just look at that as a potential option.
By all means, yes. Readily enough, in the process of that,
Yeah.
to see what our options are.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what their desires are. I don't know whether they're talking about having a full-fledged, where it would almost be like a 6 or an 8-man house or something. I don't know. I don't know what the desires are, but let's find out. Commissioners, any other questions? Anything else, Ms. Nance?
No. All right, thank you.
Okay. So that is, we don't, Ms. Kendra, so we need any action on that? Can we just kind of give the chief direction to go forth and have conversations, or do we need action?
Mr. Chair, it's listed as possible action, so I would just advise a motion to approve the fire chief's report.
Okay. Is there a motion? Have a motion by Ms. Hill, second by Ms. Herman. Since we are taking action on this, is there any public comment on this item?
There is none.
Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board. All in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to item B, Chief, 7B.
Item B is the monthly statistical report for July of 2022. I'll answer the questions you might have. I mentioned at the last meeting, stated in the way that we're counting responses to and from other jurisdictions. We dropped the labels of mutual aid, automatic aid, enhanced automatic aid. It's too confusing. So again, we're just simply counting when we respond to another jurisdiction, when we land in that jurisdiction, or when another jurisdiction responds to us and lands in our jurisdiction, that's accounted for.
Right.
And so I want to make it, I want to make a point that sometimes REMSA, when they get extraordinarily busy, because we're operating 3 medic units, we will oftentimes respond limited to priority ones, where we don't have enough ambulances. We're responding into other jurisdictions with our ambulances, and so we're counting those for Reno and Sparks primarily is where we're sending those ambulances. Okay. We're counting those as a response to those. So it's a combination of fire, of hazardous materials, of EMS, any type of call, water rescue. We're just counting the whole thing as a total aggregate number, not limited to who calls who or how we get the call. Quite often we'll be driving through someone else's jurisdiction and we come upon a car accident. And so we'll stop and render aid. We log that into the dispatch and count it as a response.
Do you think that those accidents are caused by the fact that people are talking in our fire truck being in a different jurisdiction? No. I digress. A little joke early in the morning. Take it easy. Anything else, Chief?
That's it.
I have a question on those counts. So if we get, let's say, 2 apparatus from the city of Sparks, is that counted as 2 calls for them that they count against us, so to speak, where they say we responded twice versus 1 apparatus?
Well, the way we count it is it's 1 incident.
1 incident. I recognize the incident, but I also know that some jurisdictions count calls on apparatus response versus incident.
Well, we do track the number of pieces of apparatus that respond in the totality of the month,
Okay.
As well as the aggregate number of incidents. And so in any one incident, you can have 1, 2, 3, 10 pieces of apparatus, but we only count, for reporting purposes to you, we only count 1 incident.
Do we look at other jurisdictions' reporting values versus our reporting values to see if there are any disconnects or differences?
No, we don't do that. They may have their own methodology for counting that, so.
Understood. But I just wondered if all the counts were the same.
The National Fire Incident Reporting System is a very quirky definition for mutual aid. And they count mutual aid only as if we were to respond to the city of Sparks and city of Sparks responded. If you have 2 jurisdictions, then that counts as mutual aid.
Right.
If we handle a call for Sparks and Sparks does not respond, it doesn't count as mutual aid.
That's an auto aid response?
It is for us, but for national fire reporting purposes, that's how you count it. So that's why it's so terribly confusing to the public. That's why we have shifted to this definition. Now, I will also mention that we're going back all the way to January to make sure that we're absolutely accurate in our counts. Because it is very difficult to quantify these. There was 1 call that we excluded that was reported as a response to the city of Reno, but the house was actually in TM right on the border. And so the CAD system actually pulled that into the city of Reno and reported it as a city of Reno jurisdiction, but it was actually ours. So the story, the moral of that story is we're going through every single call that we presented to you, going all the way back to January. We're going to refine that list so you have confidence that we're being accurate. I understand the sensitivities.
Sure, no, and auditing ourselves, I think, is a perfectly legitimate function. So, good.
And we have asked REMSA that they not call us for mutual aid for them unless it's priority 1. Priority 2s and priority 3s, we would prefer to leave our ambulances in the stations.
Okay.
And I'll end with this. I think it's important for the board to understand how many times that we're responding to another jurisdiction, because when the tongue goes off and we're rolling tires, that means our piece of apparatus is no longer available to service the constituents. Excuse me. So none of these calls are really outside of a big count, other than we've known for some time that we provide a lot of responses to the city folks, because that's the way the jurisdiction works. And we have stations that are close to their boundary. We have a good working relationship with the city as far as with respect to boundary drops. So even though in terms of volume to Sparks, they provide us with a lot of assistance whenever we have a structure fire in Sun Valley, which is a frequent occurrence, in Spanish Springs, brush fires everywhere. So the relationship there is, even though it's tilted in terms of aggregate counts, it's still very beneficial for us as well to maintain that.
Commissioners, any questions for the chief? Okay. All right, I will close. If there's nothing else, chief, I will close item number 7. What I'm going to do is, because we do have a little bit of time left over, I'm going to go back to item number 6. Chief, would you open that back up for us?
Yes, sir. Item 6, International Association of Firefighters Local 347.
Good morning. I apologize that I'm late. I did not catch that the meeting started at 9. So, for the record, Patrick Walsh, President 2047. I don't really have much for you guys other than we are having a retirement party for the first time in, I think, 2 years or 3 years now, coming up on October 19th at Pinocchio's, starting at 4 o'clock. If any of you guys would like to attend. The South Reno by the mall, I believe. I think we have 10 of our members that we're going to be honoring in their retirement that haven't had an opportunity yet to enjoy a celebration of their service here at Truckee Meadows.
Can you send us an email, Ron?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I will send you guys the RSVP following this meeting. Other than that, I don't really have much for you. Any questions for me?
Any questions? Okay. All right.
Thanks so much.
Okay, Chief, we'll go back to item number 8, Commissioners and Fire Chiefs announcements.
Item number 8 is Commissioners, Fire Chiefs announcements, requests for information, topics for future agendas, and statements related to items not on the agenda.
Okay, anything else, Chief?
One final thing, I mentioned in an email to you that our health insurance renewed at 2.5%.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
It's actually going to drop to 1.9.
Wow.
Even better news. But I understand that the IRS is changing some rules with respect to contributions for HSA accounts. So we'll actually need to increase that by $200 to our employees. The rate of increase on the health insurance is dropping to offset that. But in this inflationary economy, I'll take 1.9% any day.
So let me understand this, Chief, because I don't know whether I'm understanding correctly. Is the IRS saying that that is income for the employee from the HSA account?
It is.
I did, sorry, I read that. I did happen to read that email this morning, sorry, Cindy didn't. It's the deductible that increased because the IRS changed the rules on what made it a qualified plan for IRS to take it as a.
My question is because it's a high deductible account.
Mhm.
Let's just say that I pay, whatever it is, the first 5,000 or whatever it happens to be, but I know that there's an offset account that helps me to overcome those financial challenges. Does that count as income for me?
It does not. The HSA contributions are not, as long as we take it as a qualified plan and keep it as a qualified.
That's all I wanted to know. I just, my ears perk. That's all.
We'll make more sense before you next.
Yeah, I mean, at the Flood Management Authority, we had a scenario where when we were taking houses out of the floodplain and elevating them, it became a taxable event for the homeowner, which is crazy. It was costing FEMA billions of dollars to come in and make these people whole again, but yet it was wild. So and I'm not trying to take a left turn, but that's why I asked. I wanted to make sure that there was no taxable event for an employee. Okay, all right, Chief, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, Commissioners, anything you want to choose or anything else?
Should we get the back out?
No. It would be.
The Belfry is still full of
If we
bats.
need to reopen the chief's report for that because we're in. So could I go back, Mr.
Noted.
Yes,
Just noted.
sure. Did you want to open back up Fire Chief's report?
Yes, please. So
Okay,
to
go
answer
ahead.
Commissioner Herman's question. So our bats are still infested in Station 30. The contractor tells us that you could only remove the bats in October for reasons that are because they're protected species.
It's Halloween.
That's what I was saying.
So we can go in and remediate the bats and repair the construction. I fear it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, but I'm hoping to have a conversation with the state of Nevada first to see here's the problem. Here's what we want to do. We want to terminate the lease and give you the station back. But 70-year-old building, whatever we do to remediate the bats now, short of an extensive remodel, the bats are coming back and they're going to reinfest the building. So the state needs to know that. And I don't want to spend $50,000 or more just to buy us a month or two, because in the spring, they come back to the place where they're born and they nest again. So short of taking all the exterior walls off and rebuilding it and sealing it and the attic, there's no way to keep them out.
That's rebuilding, that's right on. That's big restoration.
It is. So the exterior wall, if you look at the side of a piece of cardboard, corrugated cardboard, and you see the wavy lines in there, that's exactly how the exterior wall is built. It was built with corrugated steel. And all they did was they put siding over the corrugated steel. So the bats are able to get in not only underneath where the wall meets the foundation, but any little hole. The bats can get in the size of a hole as thin as that. And there's plenty of places for the bats to get in. That's why it's so hard to keep the bats in. They're just going to find it. So I'm waiting for the state to contact me. We'll have a meeting and figure out a plan. We're transitioning the building back to them, whether it's short-term or long-term, but don't have any more than that yet because I'm waiting for the state forester to get back in.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Anything else?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Are we now at a year that we've been with Farmside Dispatch? We're close to that?
Not quite a year. I think we transitioned in January.
Well, maybe in January. Have an update on how that's going, and any specifics that
Thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Hill. As you're aware, there was a tragedy with
Yes.
an employee of Ramsey Dispatch, and I want to give high praise to the county for allowing dispatch to transition back to Washoe County Dispatch. Mark Downing, Jen Felter, and her staff, they did a phenomenal job in being able to flip some switches and make some technological changes to where we could move dispatch back to Washoe County for a couple of days while Ramsey was able to. And we're now back with Ramsey, but the county did a fantastic job for us.
That's great, and it seemed like it was a seamless transition.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's great.
Just
Well, thank you to Washoe County for doing that, the sheriff's office, so, great.
Okay, anything else? All right, that takes us to item number 9, which is our final public comment. Chief.
Madam Clerk, is there any public comment?
There's that.
Okay. Okay, all right. normally read that in, public comment to be heard under this item, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all right, chief. That's good. We are adjourned. We'll see you at 10 a.m. sharp.